So yeah, get
That was
excited.
so pretty.
We're planning to go back to mark your calendars. That's hopefully an in-person conference. So yeah, mark your calendars for next year.
Get your shots.
Get your shots.
Get your shots. Don't forget. All right.
Everybody
so are we ready
healthy,
to
stay
bring
alive.
everyone?
Sure. Yeah. Bring on the other. We'll do the little panel.
All right. So now we move on to our Q&A panel. Hi, Tim. Welcome back.
What up,
Hi,
Chris?
Cool.
What up, John?
Hey, John.
Yo, how's it going, everybody?
What up, Sarah?
Totally amazing. Totally amazing watching you all.
Woo.
So,
All right,
sorry,
we got it.
before we jump into it, I need to ask, how was the pizza?
Delicious.
It was fantastic.
I ate half of it before the
Nice.
Oh, we need to have Joe's GoPro camera in to hear him.
To get his audio.
Yeah, that's right, because of the audio, right?
Wait,
Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say the pizza was amazing. I had half of it while watching Chris, so there's like nothing better.
That's true.
Pizza
All right.
and that game. Yeah.
So, what is the plan for the Q&A? How are we running this?
We don't really have a plan for the Q&A. To be honest.
All right. So, folks in the chat, ask your questions. Tank, thank you. I did rap a little previously, but for the Q&A here, we have much more talented people, so I want them to be able to express their stuff.
Yeah, get them into Discord, get them into Twitch. We'll proxy them across if the hackers aren't watching, and we'll get questions asked. Yeah. So I guess maybe to kick it off, I don't think all four of you normally do, esports style activities. How did you guys feel about the format and the pressure and any hindsight, like looking back at your time today?
Great question. Let's start with Sarah.
I really enjoy the format. I think my particular challenge was a cool challenge, and I would have loved a heck of a lot more time on it. It was just not my thing, unfortunately. Like Python deobfuscating, like I have no idea. So it's unfortunate because I wish I could have shown you some really cool like Mac or iOS forensic artifacts, like the super creepy stuff that I really love digging into. So it's kind of unfortunate, but I think it was a cool challenge. I think, I think it's a great format. I think you all should do this every single year. I think more conferences should do this every single year. For me, though, it was like a super stressful time.
Yes. Yeah, having played in a CTF live on stream, it's wild because I suspect that people have some perception of me and my skill set. And the truth is that no matter the level of expertise, as we've seen here today, we're all kind of like figuring out what the actual answer is. Like we're working through the challenges. We don't have all of the answers, no matter how much experience or talent or whatever we have. And so I like bringing that message to everybody. Right. Whether like regardless of where you are with your skill level, it's a great equalizer. Right. We all have to look things up. We all have to figure things out. We all have to try things. We all have to fail. We all have to like figure out how to deal with the failure and then work our way up. And I think that's really the core of hacking, as Jeff kind of talked about at the opening. John, going to you, same question. Like, how did you feel about the format and working through everything today?
Yeah, I have the same kind of answer, I guess. Like I would have loved. I want to come in and like make it a show and make it entertainment and make it education all at the same time. And when you're doing something blind, you're kind of going in with cold feet. It's weird how you balance and juggle that. So that's like a constant nagging in my mind. But at the end of the day, it's all about learning. So whether if it's me learning or if it's anyone else kind of watching that's learning, and even when you and I, Sadie, were kind of back and forth, like, oh man, this is just new to me. Like I want to get smarter on AWS enumeration or SSRF to exploit other different schemas and do different things. It's a ton of fun to kind of be in the moment, and while you can kind of choke with all that pressure and just a short time period. There's that end of the spectrum, but there's also like, hey, I'm forced to do this, and now I know, well, I want to go learn even more about this. So even if I'm not in that hour and a half time crunch, I'll spend that time to go learn more about this, and that's, I think, what the best part that comes from this. So
yeah, absolutely right. It gives you like insight of like, here are areas where I can learn more stuff. There's like new info for me to discover. And even in John, in your challenge, when Matt Austin joined us, Matt Austin was like, oh wow, like I didn't know Go for Us, right? And Go for Us was a new tool. So even the person that made the challenge learned something new out of watching you work on the challenge. I thought that was really, really cool.
Yeah, I want to hear what Chris and Joe say too, but a follow-up to John kind of came in that fits at this time. With all of your YouTube videos, you know, in that same spirit of learning and understanding, learning new things and understanding the different topics, how much editing do you edit out on those things that you do YouTube videos on? Like how many paths do you go down that like don't pan out and you kind of have to roll those back and kind of hand wave over them in your videos?
yeah, so I try to keep YouTube videos kind of as raw and as genuine as I can. So even if that means it's an hour when it should have been 5 minutes, I'll try and keep those rabbit holes in there just so it shows that learning process. Because I think a lot of people really respond well to that. Like, no, we want to see you troubleshoot. We want to see you figure out a problem and walk your way back out of it. I think that's, I don't want all the time a beautifully bundled up and packaged and pretty present of education. Sometimes I want to show that raw struggle, and no one ever talks about how much fail there is in hacking and learning. So hopefully I showcase that, and I try not to edit, if at all, any I can, unless it's like 30 seconds of silence of me just staring at the wall.
If I can jump in real quick, I've seen the chat here and the entire day talking about hacking as an esport. That would be super cool to see. And if y'all don't know, we are hosting today's event here on the Hacking Esports channel for a reason. You've seen the UHC logo here the entire day. UHC, for those who don't know, is the Ultimate Hacking Championship, which is a live CTF in an esports style with live commentators and special guests. So 10 players go against each other every Sunday for prizes. And it happens exactly here on this Twitch channel. That's why you are all here, because we are already trying very hard to make esports, to make hacking into an esports really, really hard. So if you want to know more about it, you just have to go to the YouTube channel of Hacking Esports, and you can watch, oh, not that link. And you can watch the Hacking Esports past editions with all of our players and all of our guests, including John Hammond, Ipsec, Nahamsec, and many others, just commentating live on CTF. And that's my next question. Did you all ever thought in your entire life you would ever see hacking as esports happen, ever?
Yeah, and actually, Chris, I want to hear your opinion here, because Chris, you worked on like the Cyber Grand Challenge, right? And I remember rapping at DEF CON that particular year, and I had like all of the server stacks behind me. Like all the racks were backed up, they were lit up, illuminated. It was amazing. And I was like, oh my God, this is something that like no other rapper can ever talk about. Like I have something on my resume that tops any other rapper's resume. And so, Chris, like you were involved with the Cyber Grand Challenge. What was your take on like CTF in like kind of an esports format?
Yeah, so I've seen it coming for a long time. It's just a matter of packaging it the right way. I think DEF CON is probably the most obvious place to go and look and watch the evolution, starting with their CTFs, which have been a spectator sport ever since I've been doing it. I did my first DEF CON CTF back in like 2001. It was in an open room, and I mean the con kind of flowed right through it, and people were walking up right behind you and like shoulder surfing and like wondering what you're doing, and tremendous amount of distractions, and those early organizers, especially when Ghetto Hackers came in, I think in 2002, really tried to up the production value there. and everybody has wrestled, and I organized that along with Tim. We were organizers for a while, and there's been a lot of organizers, and everybody's tried. Struggle to some extent is how do you make this into a spectator sport, right? What can you do to convey the action, right? Is it just a scoreboard? Can you animate the scoreboard? Can you have some more visual types of challenges? Tim, you have to ask about Tim's chicken cage that he built for one of our things, remote control chickens hacking over with Xbox controllers, or I don't remember what. Anyway,
Okay, I will. Tim, what's up with the chicken cage?
Yeah, one of the interesting things about CTF when it's team on team play like that, the scoreboard and any kind of visual feedback becomes some sort of intrusion detection system for all the other teams, right? So you have this weird aspect of where you can't watch it like you can with other sports because you're influencing the outcome. So that, and also this desire to sort of break the wall like outside of the digital realm, we always tried to have these other sort of extra challenges that kind of broke outside of the normal confines. So one year I was at Carnegie Mellon at the time, and then the robotics club was working on a low-cost robot for educational purposes, and crucially they were USB connected, because if anybody's been to DEF CON, Wi-Fi is not a good strategy for any kind of event like that. So we built this like 4x8 cage. I think we literally went to like Home Depot or something and manufactured this chicken wire cage on site in the CTF room. And every team got one of these. And then there was I wrote a service, like a normal CTF service. But using that, you could control these little, I think they were called pigeons, if I remember right, whatever the hardware was called. And yeah, different teams took different approaches. There was a visual aspect too, where there was a camera on top, so you didn't have to like leave your CTF table. But different teams took different approaches. One of them went to Fry's and bought like 5 extension cords for a PS5 controller, I think, and they dedicated like one of their players to sit next to the cage and like steer the robot around and kind of knock all the other robots over. So, so that becomes an interesting spectator piece to it, and it's attractive, but that doesn't really convey most of the skills that people were exercising in the challenge, right? So again, it doesn't fully drive home all the objectives.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of like step back a little bit towards that, collecting the whole set of skills that the players are utilizing. On UHC, we had a guest host one week, Amy, who goes by ItZen from RPISec. And Amy talked about how like they have these detections and then automation built in. So like as packets hit their systems, they are like analyzing, they're breaking the packets apart. I think they were using Scapy, but then figuring out like, oh, this is like not a normal response for like, what the service is expecting. And then figuring out like what is going on in this particular request. And so how do I then utilize that to like weaponize, the initial request to then target like my other opponents or whatever. And that is all in the whole, the experience of hacking, right? You're taking the environment that you're working with and then utilizing that to like figure out some way around everything else. Joe, I wanted to switch to you and ask more about like your experience, because I think out of everybody today, you had the most physical experience. You were back and forth. You were pulling items out of drawers. Tell us about what you were like, just your overall take on everything you had to go through today.
Well, I'm still sweating from that. So that,
Yes.
Yeah, usually you're not really running around like that, right? And like the beauty of this is I guess I've never really done a CTF. At DEF CON one year, there was a Lost challenge way back of doing some stuff, but I haven't really done it. And I've seen some of the UHC stuff, and it's like, you can learn so much from it. And you're watching people. You're like,
Oh no, Joe, we lost your audio. Something happened.
No, we lost the audio. No, come back, audio. I think.
Check.
Okay.
Yes, there you are. All
Yeah.
right.
All right. My wireless mic died. Yeah,
So have you seen some of the UHC stuff?
yeah, so like you watch that, you're like, how do people know all this stuff? But then you're reminded like, oh, because they practice and they learn and they try. So this stuff is no different, except the physicality of it is tricky, right? And moving back and forth. But it's, if you have the right tools in place, and if I had planned better, I would have brought everything. Just like you bring all your scripts and your other tools and your ideas. I just wasn't prepared because my workflow is normally different. But just thinking about kind of CTFs in general, I thought about video games, right? Back in the late 70s and early 80s, when those just started coming up, like they were already kind of spectator sports. Like at least I would go to the arcade and, my mom would give me $5. I would keep the money and then watch other people play, mostly because I was bad at playing games, but also because I wanted the money. So it was sort of inherently this type of thing that you could watch. And hacking a lot of times, we see it in the movies, but then the reality is not as exciting as video games until someone creates a CTF. So like what you guys are doing, you're basically game designers, right? You're video game designers to make it fun. And the fact that we see the video game industry and Twitch, being massive for gaming, there's no reason hacking can't be the same if it's done in these constrained environments in a way that is, educational and fun and doable within the time frame. But yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. Even if you think you know what you're getting into, there's always something that trips you up. And that's the beauty of the community, is everybody has a skill that they can share, right? And nobody's going to be the best at everything. And that's the best part about it, right? As long as you realize that, then there's so much to learn.
You are absolutely right. I can't tell you how many times I've played a CTF where I went into it, I thought I was fully prepared. Like I've got my VM built out, I've got all the tools installed and configured, and all of a sudden there's a challenge where I'm like, I need a new tool.
Yeah. I need a soldering iron. Yeah.
Yep. And in your case, you ran to the shed, literally, and you did it twice. And then in one of those situations, somebody had to cover for you with a freestyle rap.
Yeah.
I won't say who it was, but I think they did okay, so it was all right.
It was me. It was me. Okay, I admit.
I gotta play the tape back later so I can hear it.
That's sort of a synthesized question from a couple of parts. It's essentially getting to, do you guys think that this format, like the format, right? Do you guys think that this format is something that could be merged into physical environments, or is this something that is sort of more appealing due to the restricted travel that everybody has right now?
Ooh, that's a really good question, right? Because on screen we can all easily just like switch back and forth, but I don't know, like seeing a CTF live in person, but you only have a limited time could be challenging. I don't like, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, there's nothing that we're doing that, you couldn't be in an announcer's booth, like adjacent to the player arena and cut into different screens and so on. Then you get sort of a live event. I mean, you could take a mobile mic and wander through the through the players and pull somebody aside for an interview or whatever. It didn't, I think, and I don't know how it works in UHC, but going back to Tim's point of using the broadcast as basically as a source of hints, right? I'd look up and say, oh, he's looking at this function in IDA, I better look at that function, or something like that. So how do you guys manage where you might be commenting on one person's workflow, but one of the other competitors is maybe watching what you're doing and giving something away that's helped them going to get a solve quicker than they might have otherwise?
It's a great question. And in reality, the way that it manifests in UHC is that we have competitors from all around the globe. So a lot of the players are Brazilian. So we run two streams in parallel. There's a Brazilian stream where they're talking in Portuguese, and then we have our English stream, which is where you are right now, where we are broadcasting in English. And so a lot of the players that are Brazilian, they tie into the Brazilian stream, and they might be getting, one set of commentary, whereas other players who might be from Poland or Pakistan or India or Germany, like anywhere else around the globe, they are tied into the English stream. And so it's quite possible that you can kind of get like multiple streams of input if you can work in that fashion, right? And we saw here that like everybody takes different levels of coordination with their narrative, right? Like I was saying, I was like working through a challenge. If I try to explain my thought process, I start to falter and it slows me down. And some people are better at that, and some people aren't as good at that. But getting multiple streams of input can then help you work through that. And so, Chris, I think you're right. Like it could be advantageous, but it also may be non-effective. Go ahead.
If I may, I want to waver in here because here in the chat there was a very, very interesting discussion going on, and I think it's super valid. The people are saying like this was absolutely amazing. This was so much fun. Never had that much fun watching hacking related content. But it puts up a challenge of people will have to understand hacking to watch it and have fun with it. And I see a bunch of you doing this. Let me tell you, I have absolutely no idea what any of you actually did. I am not from tech. I am a social engineer. I am straight up all about humans and human behavior. I have no idea what any of you done. And I had the time of my life because you don't actually have to be a pro hacker to love hacking, to be extremely passionate about it. You only have to relate to the purpose of it. I see you all doing amazing stuff, pursuing knowledge, sharing knowledge, going after what you love. And I can see the passion, not only from you, but from all of the chat. And for me, that's straight up why I love hacking. This is it. Like, that's why I go to so many hacking conferences, even if I'm not from the tech environment. I'm not a technical person. I don't know how to hack computers or anything like that. I'm actually very bad with that. And here I am hosting it for several weeks, for like 40 weeks in a row. So, you know, it's the only thing important about hacking is you having fun on your journey. And that's pretty much it.
I tell you, some of the comments. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
Some of the comments, I was reading some of the comments when Joe was going, and I mean, there were comments like, I have no idea what he's doing, but this is amazing. Right? And it was. Part of it is like, part of the value in this is just getting the spark lit under people who say, I have no idea what he's doing, but I want to do it. Right? And just realizing you want to do it and that it looks fun. Right? Is if that's the thing that gets you involved, that starts your journey, right? That's what so many of the DEF CON villages are about, right? Is getting people started on this journey, right? And so the exposure like that this offers, that the DEF CON villages offers, is a great kickstart for so many people, right? Who said, I started hardware hacking because I saw Joe Grant do this stream one time, and that's a fantastic contribution.
Absolutely. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the commentary part of it that you touched on is a huge part, right? Because like I understand, say, software reverse engineering a little, but then seeing Chris go through it and having him give his thought process going through it, and then having you talk about it, like that's really where the learning is. Because like Marina, also like there's stuff I look at, I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like the first two, right? Like mind blowing, just seeing that stuff, right? And that's the thing is. Hearing, it's like you can watch sports with the TV with the volume off, and some people can do it, but I can't because I don't know what the hell's going on otherwise. But if somebody's there telling me what's happening, like then it's like this is amazing. Like it's you can learn from it, right? So that commentary and how you do that and how other other people can do it is taking the stuff that is going on really rapidly and crazy, and then kind of distilling it for the audience is what helps.
And so this kind of leads into a very common question of like, how do I get started? But, you know, there are a lot of different disciplines, right? So if you're just like, how do I get started in security? Oh my goodness. It's like, I want to chase all the cars on the highway, right? There's so much. And so my thought here is try a bunch of different things and just do a little bit of each of the different things and figure out like, I like this, I like this, I like this. I don't like that. I like this. And then you start removing candidates, right? Then for the things that you're interested in, figure out a purpose. So for me, the way that like I got started was I wanted to hack AOL. AOL was my connection to the internet as a kid. And I was like, I want to hack AOL. And so that like drove me to like learn how to program, learn how to hack. And so that was my thing. So find something that you're like excited about, a problem that you want to solve, and then figure out how to solve that problem. So like it can be anything, right? But is there a game that you play? How do you get infinite gold in the game that you play? How do you get infinite lives? Like whatever, right? And then focus on that problem, because that will get you all of these skills. You're like building these skills as you work towards solving that problem. Now, what I want to do is ask that same question to everybody that participated today. If I'm interested in web hacking or reverse engineering or Mac OS and iOS digital forensics or hardware hacking, like what is something that you would recommend that might be a objective that I could work towards to get me started learning more about that field? And so I'll start with John for the web hacking side.
Oh, so I feel like a broken record on this sort of thing, right? I feel like I beat a dead horse, but my answer always kind of boils down to, hey, play Capture the Flag, or like go try some war game or some online practice range. And I realize the way that we learn can totally vary from person to person. Like some people might like to read about something and then kind of get the idea understood. Some people might like to listen in or watch a video or learn by doing. I think for hacking, for this, it's very active, and you have to be doing it. Like you have to be on the keyboard, you have to be interacting with it, you have to be engaged. So I think those hands-on, application-based, those practical stuff, like playing a Capture the Flag or trying out a war game, that's the ticket. And Google, like research, go learn. And even if it's just you're Googling how to get into web hacking, you'll find some good stuff. Sometimes you might see some crazy, like maybe bad ones that are like, oh, go hack into X company, go hack into X website. Those are bad. But go look for kind of the gems that are really showcasing like, what about this specific kind of web server? What vulnerabilities are in there, that sort of thing. But get your hands dirty and tinker with them and play with them, and don't be afraid to Google and research and learn.
Awesome advice. And, we kind of operate, at least in the web space, we operate on that assumption that everything is accessible, right? We can spin up our own web apps. We can build a web app. We can run a Docker image. But in a different space, like in the Mac OS or iOS space, learning to do something like forensics might be a little bit more limited. So, Sarah, I would like to pose the same question to you. How would you recommend somebody get started or learn more about Mac OS and iOS forensics? I know that AWS has Mac images now that you can spin up. I don't know if that's in the free tier or not, but maybe that's less expensive than going and buying like a Mac Mini or a MacBook or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with a free with purchase of Mac kind of thing. I haven't explored the AWS option. There's also a Corellium option if you want to play around with the iOS stuff. So that may be another cool thing to do. I have not tried either of those yet, but I think they're really promising as far as not getting actual Apple products. But as far as other things, I mean, Mac and iOS, even in the forensics world, which is already fairly niche to begin with, is even more niche. So it's so specific. And I like to think to myself that it's getting more popular every single day. I'm also lying to myself every single day. So there's some good stuff out there. And if you even just Google Mac or iOS forensics, you're probably going to get my website. So shameless plug, macforensics.com. Okay, it's a weird Mac forensics. I don't think I could type out the actual URL here, but it's Mac, number 4, letter N, number 6 to make it super complicated. I throw a lot of stuff out there. I try to put out as much research as possible, as many scripts as possible, to try to just, bring that resource to the community, if at all possible. My CNs class too, again, shameless plug, I'm sorry, I have to. But there is a few other sources out there too. It's on the Mac and iOS side, it's limited. We have Heather Mahalik, Smarter Forensics. We got all sorts of other different things. I'll try to tweet out a few different things a little bit later this evening, but just not enough to just let me like talk about all these different things on here. If you look hard enough, the resources are there. If not, DM me. Happy to help you out.
That is awesome. And I feel kind of a parallel there with, the less accessible part of the space is also applicable to the hardware side, right? Like I can't just go, I can buy stuff like from Adafruit or whatever, but I may not necessarily know like what the things are that I need. On the software side, I can mess around. I can spin up Docker containers, oh, this is the wrong Docker container, delete it, no problem. So Joe, same question to you. Like if people are interested in hardware forensics, how would you recommend that they might get started?
So yeah, you might like the access to resources for hardware hacking have just exponentially grown over the past 5 or 10 years. And the cost of things has gone down. So it's not really a huge hurdle anymore for getting involved in hardware. You could go to Goodwill and just buy some routers and take them apart and hack on those, or go on eBay to kind of just buy stuff to learn how to solder. And there are so many kits out there that you can learn from. So getting the stuff isn't a major hurdle. But I feel like, I come from the school of doing, right? And like constantly questioning. And, when I was 7 years old is when I just started digging through electronics. So it's like, if you have that passion, you can find stuff and you figure out how it works and you modify it and you build projects out of magazines and you watch hacker conference talks. There's the Hardware Hacking Village now. So many conferences have their own, either their badges or some sort of hardware CTF. So you can do all of these different things and kind of experiment. So yeah, the resources are there. There's some great, presentations and stuff online. Again, it's just sort of Googling for that stuff. Like John said, just getting out there and kind of doing it and learning. And if you start with stuff that's $5 or $10, you don't feel so bad if it breaks. But then if it breaks, then you just use it for other stuff, right? You take some parts off, you do this, you do that. So yeah, it's just all about doing, really, and experiencing it yourself and replicating work. That's the other thing too, is like, don't feel bad if you're copying what somebody else did in a talk. That's how you get started, right? You use that. Maybe you come up with some new technique that becomes something else. And it happens to all of us, no matter how long we've been doing this. It's still, to this day, you accidentally stumble onto something else by replicating somebody's work. And that literally just happened to me on Monday. And I'll eventually will publish it. But it's like, you never know what's going to happen until you get out there and do it, and just don't be afraid of messing up, and just love it. Just have fun with it.
I love that. I think of that as deliberate practice. Going back to your focusing on your learning. And so not being afraid to necessarily duplicate someone else's work. So as an example, I didn't know much about Windows pen testing. I wrote a bunch of malware for Windows. I understood like Windows APIs, but if you ask me about like Active Directory or Kerberos or whatever, I didn't really know much. So I was like, cool, like I want to learn those things. And so I went on Hack the Box. I looked for boxes that were specifically built for like Windows AD stuff. And then I used those boxes and I followed write-ups from people to learn like what the tools were and what the techniques were and how to work through those. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like leveling up your game fast, I think that's what's up. It's not like necessarily that you have to like try harder and bang your head against the wall. Like you should always try, but you don't have to fail a bunch just to learn something that somebody else already knows and can just show you like how to do it. And so I think that's super cool. And Joe, I love your point about thrift shops and using like Goodwill. Like go get devices that cost almost next to nothing, and then take those devices, look them up. Like, are there write-ups already for those devices? Or go look up write-ups and see like, oh, here's how somebody took apart the Linksys WRT54G. Then like go to your Goodwill and see like, oh, here's a WRT54G. Great. I'm just going to like replicate this write-up and learn the basics of hardware hacking. But in doing that, like there's no shame. Like you learn those skills, you understand those practices better. And that's what you're after, really. It's not about how you got there. It's like, are you actually getting there? That's like, focus on results. And so Chris, now like turning to you with reverse engineering, people that want to learn how to RE, what do you tell them?
Well, first I tell them, don't be afraid to take something apart, right? And so like Joe, like when I was a kid, I took everything apart. And if there was any hint, right, that some performance degradation or whatever, it's like, I got it, Mom. I'm going to fix it. Take everything apart, right? I disassembled every appliance in the house, and sometimes they didn't go back together, but it didn't discourage me. And when computers came accessible to me, then it was just software. The same thing. Take that software apart. How does it work? How do they do that? And it required me to have a detailed knowledge of software. And I fortunately loved programming from an early age, but at all levels, all the way down, not just C, but, assembly and so on. If you want to take it apart, you have to know the end state so you can work your way backwards. And the end state in so many programs is machine code, right? So when you're down there wading around in the bits, you have to know how to put those back together. And how did they become that set of bits in the first place? What is your tool chain, right? How does this stuff get constructed? So you learn about how compilers work and languages work and so on. And so I tell my students all the time, I'm a teacher, right? I teach a lot. And when they have a question, right, I try as often as I can in class to come up with a live, like, okay, let's build a small test case that we can use to answer your question, right? So we write a short piece of code, right? Compile it, disassemble it, debug it, whatever, right? That gets at the heart of the question they asked, right? I don't do some theoretical thing right on the board. We'll say, well, this is just how it works, right? Let's go see how it works. Like let's do this thing, right? Build the code and look at the code and step through the code, right? And to see what is the kernel going to tell us if we try this and so on. What instrumentation do we have that can tell us about how the process is laid out in memory, right? How can we get at the parts of memory and so on, right? So having that natural curiosity and the willingness to do those small test cases, nobody's going to hand you the answers, right? But that research is still a great thing, right? And in some cases, I like to, if you beat your head, don't beat your head forever, but there are answers out there. Right? So again, everybody's talked about web resources in the CTF community for reverse engineering and things like this challenges. CTFtime.org, if folks haven't heard about it, is a great resource for CTFs, and it's a great repository for going and find write-ups of people's solves. So in the software reverse engineering, binary exploitation, like John says, CTFs are a great place to get started, right? There are people out there that are building these challenges, right? Cyphertext came in and built this challenge for me today, and all the other challenge creators did the same thing, and provided a great service and great entertainment for all of us. But CTF organizers do this all the time, right? And so if you want to say, well, what do I exploit? I wouldn't tell somebody, well, go find a bug in Internet Explorer, right, as your first thing, right? So all of these competitions are offering you like small bugs, right? Pretty targeted, without a lot of code to wade through in most cases, and they're the great place to start. And you can often find write-ups and read more than one because you get insight into somebody else's workflow. And you see things like, I didn't know that tool even existed. I didn't know you could repurpose this tool in this way, right? And so reading about other people's solves, right? Even right, just learning the tools that they use and the approach that they use. And I get to the end of somebody's write-up and say, that still sounds like magic to me, but I learned a lot about the tools in your process.
Yeah, I had a very similar experience in that last point of learning to reverse engineer, right? So I would get crack knees, and then I would solve the crack knee, and then I would go read other people's write-ups for how they solved it. And I would learn something new in every single write-up. Like I'd be like, oh, I patched these bytes to get me through. And somebody would be like, oh, I use this tool. And I didn't even know that tool existed. It was amazing. And one of the things that you pointed out that I really like is building your own test harness, essentially, right? So you're somebody asks a question, you're like, I don't know, let's build a test case. And then you build your own thing, your own target to test against. And then you see how it works. And that works so well at least as far as I know, in the cases with the web hacking with John and the forensics cases with Sarah. I've done the same things, right? On the RE side, I write code. On the website, I also write code. I build up I stand up an app. And then on the forensic side, I do something on my target environment, and then I dig into like what actually happened in the target environment. And all of that informs me more so that I can be a better hacker. And that's all things that just really the cost is time. And it's just like, will you spend the time to do it? But I love that option is there. And then what ends up happening, at least on my side, I've seen when I look at something, I look at a binary, or I look at a web app, or I look at, some disk image for a forensics challenge. I'm like, ooh, probably this is what it looks like on the back end. Like, this is what the code looks like, or this is probably like what I'm going to find, like digging through the file system structure or whatever. And so you get a better understanding of like what the other side of it is. And so as the CTF player, as the attacker, whatever you're doing, having that better understanding gets you to your solution faster.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that was kind of the idea of doing it and getting your hands dirty and reading write-ups. Like, that was kind of the whole pitch for Hack Live, is like, let's get experts who know how to do stuff and like put them in front of people and just let them work. Because by observing them working on a real problem, you can garner or get so much information about like, oh, they used that tool and then that was their thought. And so that was kind of the whole pitch for Hack Live. And so it's cool to hear that here.
Yeah. And again, I love that, we are all quote unquote experts. Like, we're all regarded as being individuals who know something about what we're talking about. And still, we may not have all the answers, right? We all showed that we had to figure out some challenge. There was something unknown along the way that we didn't know, and work through it. And that is everything, right? Everybody, there is something for you in hacking. It may not be incident response. It may not be digital forensics. It may not be web application pen testing, but there is something. So at least try things, see what you like, see what you don't like. The things you don't like, don't worry about it. Maybe you might like them later. That's fine. But there is something for everybody in hacking. You all belong here. We need all of you.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I make mistakes in front of my students all the time. I try to do an example and it doesn't work. And there's so much value in getting to the root of your mistake, right? Talking through your mistake and understanding, well, did I make a bad assumption? What didn't I understand? What did I do wrong? Did I rush? Whatever. And what's your debugging process of your mistake? For me, they get to see me do something in GDB or whatever, but what's your thought process as you work through your mistake and correct your way out of the problem? There's so much value in that. Don't be afraid to fail. Learn from all your failures. Try to understand why you failed.
I was going to say, that's just called learning. That's just learning, right? Yep. So this is great. This is all like golden content. We have one more question. We're curious if anybody wanted to know what was in the manila envelopes. I don't think John actually received his yet, so he's got to maybe remain curious till tomorrow. Are you guys curious or not really?
I'm very
John, you
curious.
have to make up your own envelopes.
I don't think I
do. All together?
People are curious what's in them.
All right.
I opened all of mine. I know.
Oh, he knows.
Should I just close my eyes and plug my ear?
I
got his at the ready.
Sarah, did you get manila envelopes?
So part of
my package did not get received by my apartment until later this afternoon. So I haven't actually. It's downstairs. I haven't gotten it yet.
She has it, but she hasn't.
It's in the mailroom, hanging out with the pizza delivery individual.
I think.
Oh,
did you guys want me to start typing like one key at a time?
Yes. So our as many people have probably surmised, we one of the wild cards we had was understanding difficulty and timing, right? Knowing that these are people at the top of their discipline, but also under duress and never before seen challenges of live sports. So we wanted to have some control and some interaction with the audience on how to speed up and slow down the progress. It turned out a lot of that kind of got away from us, but these envelopes have hindrances in them. And the idea was that if people were just like really crushing the challenges, people could vote on what you might be, what kind of obstacles might come up. And an int80 could attempt to block it with a D20, right? And yeah, you guys have D20. So we kind of thought some of that out. Given 4-hour time blocks, maybe that would have been useful. But as it was, we didn't need to use much. So cool.
Yeah, so we could have voted to like,
What
make
did
you
that
wear
one
the
about?
eye patch, or like make you use that like typing key. So instead of using your hands, you'd have to press like one key at a time. Like
That's awesome.
Probably
was
been
a thought.
faster with this one, but
So those are mementos that you can keep. All right, thanks again. I think where we are at kind of the end of the Q&A panel. Please stick around on the stream. We have a short video. We have some other people we want to bring on for just a few minutes as a sort of a manner of closing. If you could play the video now, Issa, that'd be great. Thank you.
Not every geek with a Commodore 64 can hack into NASA.
This one's dedicated to all the hackers.
All the hackers.
Even out, settle scores quick. Our disaster recovery requires even more discs. Put your bytes up, prove it or you forfeit. Got my C64 and we blew it into orbit. M Bison with 8 straight perfects. Overbold emotions make hate break circuits. In case you heard, it's a name fake service. Optimize our runtime to escape verdicts. Got an integer scope flow that they can't sign. Passing code, didn't sanitize command lines, landmine. So before they'll see me after, I'm advice dog, courage, woke plus velociraptor. Don't prove we're human unless we really have to. My team built schemes that destroy, recapture. Hate what they see, finish this chapter. By the way, we're not any geeks, we hack into NASA. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Got this vodka and this Red Bull, they still give me wings. So we drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. Drink all the booze, hack all the things. 0 through 3, we're in every single ring. I'm just waiting till my BlackBerry dies, cause I'll replace it with the Raspberry Pi. Don't compare to this track, it makes everything they said dull. Neutralize any threat, turn Red Skull to Dev Null. They killed virus writers.
What? That was sick. I wish I had a pizza delivery.
That was a good video. I don't know if Amity is coming on. Did Amity put that together, or did Dan do it?
Amity did it.
Amity
You did awesome.
No, that was good.
Great.
That was good for short notice. So thanks for hanging around. Thanks for sticking with us through the stream today on Hack Live. Got some people demonstrating some of our KernelCon apparel here. We have merchandise at
Sink or swim.
store.kernelcon.org.
Sink or swim.
Space-related gear. So this year, we wanted to try something different. It seemed like it worked, for the most part, kind of, sort of, mostly. It was different. We learned some things. Hopefully everybody learned some things. We did announce the dates for next year. So in person is the plan. And, more hacking, more popcorn, downtown Omaha, Nebraska, 3/31 to 4/2 next year. We do realize that is over April Fool's Day. At one point, this seemed like a good idea. We will see next year, because we have committed to that weekend. I wanted to go through. I wanted to thank sponsors one more time, briefly, where we have Contrast coming in the Platinum, GuidePoint, TechPoint.
To everybody.
Sticking with us for another year. And then, of course, as you go down, we had a couple of session sponsors, Contrast again, Hexrays sporting their brand new logo, and Splunk, Secure Sky, Forefront 17, First National Bank of Omaha, First National Technology Services, and then our sort of in-kind sponsors, UHC and No Starch. So many thanks to the sponsors, and help make this possible.
Yes.
And another thing I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of run around. I know that everybody's a little pressured on time, but many of the organizers are here that have spent many hours over the past several months, and everybody did multiple things. So don't say anything that I take is definitely not the sole work that they did, but maybe a core responsibility. So Adam's on here, he's showing in the middle. Adam definitely did just about all of the website work. And he organized maybe about half of the challenge organizers, in addition to a bunch of other stuff, a lot of it software related. Definitely pulling his weight there. Amity, who's not here, did all of the video producing. We have actually several more. We thought we might have time in between sessions to run little videos. Turns out we did not. So those will be available on the YouTube site. Dan definitely did all of the graphics, all of the popcorn paraphernalia wearing, and definitely handled all of the social media and comms. The Scotch Tech is on. Scotch Tech did a lot of the badge stuff, including I think all of the programming. So you guys that were able to use your pre-programmed badges, thanks to him. He also had the duty of dealing with customs and shipping things back and forth for the badge stuff, and handled a lot of giveaways today. Tyler, who you guys have seen during Joe's challenge, did badge design, badge production. He also made all of the hardware stuff. So Joe Fitz helped out with some conceptual stuff. Tyler made it all real and designed it as an original creation. Stephanie not here. Sponsors, giveaways in Discord. Trent also not here. Sponsors. Wasey doing whatever needs to be done at any given time. Definitely a true team player. Also, very recently wrangled all of the Discord stuff. None of us are actually Discord users. It's all like beyond us. So Wasey really came in and saved us there. And then of course, our partners in arms, the UHC folks. Many thanks for partnering with us on this and sticking through an entire day of announcing. Behind the scenes, we have Issa, who you guys don't get to see, but she's the person behind the curtain that's pulling all the strings.
Issa, jump in.
Jump in,
Come on,
Issa.
show us your face. Take pictures of your house. Isa is amazing. Isa is the one that makes UHC happen. We literally could not do UHC without Isa. Isa is like the core of UHC.
I don't know if we can coerce her to come on screen or not.
She says no thanks or obrigada, but she's
at least put yourself on the screen without your. There you go. There she is.
It's an actual person. We promise.
It is.
It's not an AI.
It's not an AI.
It's not
So I know that we're kind of it's been a long day. I think anybody still on the stream, has probably been sitting on their chair, maybe a little bit stressed. It's like, will they make it kind of for so long? So I don't know if we need to dwell, but I wanted to make sure to get through at least that much. I also don't want to talk over any of the other OC members. It's just I had an opportunity and a platform to run through that information quick. If other people want to say some stuff that needs to be said, please feel free.
Hi everyone, Adam here. I just wanted to give everyone a heads up. We went ahead and put a survey into Discord. Check out the announcements channel. We're going to give away 5 random giveaways for completed surveys for KernelCon swag, like some of the swag you see here, in this Brady Bunch effect here. And give us your honest feedback. I mean, this is brand new to us, like Tim said. It's something that I think really turned out well, with maybe some exceptions around like timing of challenges, and definitely something that if there's a lot of interest, that maybe we can find a way to repeat this at some point. So I wanted to say thanks, for UHC. I mean, you guys really made this really smooth and easy. I know Tim's already thanked you, but I think that everyone on the KernelCon OC, could drop a thank you, and it still wouldn't be enough. So I want to say thanks for that, and awesome job with the OC. I love working with you guys.
Great. I think that's it. Maybe that's a wrap.
Yep.
All right.
Oh wait,
sorry, had to unmute.
Just so I let everyone know, if you're there in the chat with us, don't forget to check us every Sunday on UHC. If you don't know what UHC is, just have to look for Hacking Esports in any of the social media of your liking, Twitter or Instagram. You can also go to YouTube to watch past editions with guests that we already had, like Bipsec or John Hammond or whoever you like. And yes, let's everyone help making hacking into an esports, to an actual esports. We
Right.
count on you.
We want all the hackers we can get. That is the main mantra. Everybody, you are welcome here. This is for you.
Mhm.